As we begin this programme, the latest ceasefire in Yemen has just come into force. The Saudi-led coalition has pledged to halt its airstrikes targeting Houthi rebels and their allies. But there's been more fighting in the run-up to the ceasefire. 11 Houthi and 2 pro-Hadi fighters have reportedly been killed in battles on Sabah mountain, close to the southwestern city of Taiz. The Houthis are believed to be sending a large number of reinforcements to the area. Well, this is not the first attempt to end the fighting in Yemen. In fact, it's the third ceasefire since the Saudi-led coalition began bombing Houthi fighters and army forces loyal to former President Ali Abdullah Saleh. The aerial campaign started on March the 26th. A 5-day ceasefire in May allowed aid groups to deliver food, fuel and medicine, although there was some fighting between rival sides. And a week-long truce brokered by the United Nations earlier this month failed almost immediately after Saudi Arabia said it had not been asked to stop its raids. Well, joining us via Skype from Sana'a is Hassan Boussinin, who's the head of mission for Doctors Without Borders in Yemen. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. How much difference would this ceasefire make if it does actually hold and go ahead as planned?
I mean, it will make the population being able to move more safely because lately both fightings and airstrikes have been devastating and taking a high toll of civilian life. So people will feel grandly reassured if at least there is no airstrike.
And in terms of delivering aid, which is supposedly what this is supposed to help, how much difference will that make?
I mean, it will make lots of difference for some UN agencies and other organizations. But as far as MSF is concerned, as Doctors Without Borders is concerned, we haven't been stopping even during the peak of the fighting. We carried on our duty ever since the campaign started.
So where are the areas that need the most help?
Well, now it's all over the country because the problem of this conflict is primarily, of course, is the violence and the insecurity because of the airstrikes and the ground fighting, but also the extreme application of the Resolution 2216 of the United Nations, which, in fact, beyond the embargoes of weapons, is now an extremely severe restriction on importation, which hamper the life of everybody. It's a huge inflation on food, like from 50 to 70%. And there is absolutely no drugs coming in besides what the NGOs are bringing in.
And so how, you say there's a shortage on things like drugs. Explain to us, give us an example of how that works in practice and what kind of things are a result of that.
Well, in practice, more than half of the hospitals of Yemen have stopped working. It's an absolute collapse of the health system. It's very difficult for us to operate in such a large scale. But, I mean, we still supply our hospitals. We can import medicines, but, for example, the Ministry of Health, or what is now the Ministry of Health, is unable to import, and the private traders cannot import medicines. So it's really, pharmacies are empty.
And what about the normal functioning? Because I know that Yemen has a problem in general. It relies quite heavily on oil for things like generators and so on. How much difference is that making to the hospitals and how they can function?
I mean, more than half of the hospitals have stopped functioning, as I said, primarily because of lack of supply of medicines, but also because it's very difficult to find fuel to run generators, both for generators, but also for potable water. So it's really a tragedy.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Hassan Boussinin, Head of Mission for Doctors Without Borders in Yemen. We appreciate your time. Thank you.